Dr. Ebony Stone, and this is the Black Woman in the Corner Office. Hello, 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 and welcome to the Black Woman in the Corner Office. I'm your host, Dr. Ebony Stone, your favorite coach and author, and I'm here today with an amazing guest. I can't wait to jump into it with her. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, and then we're going to learn her story. All right? So I am here today with Brandi Hudson, who is a performance coach. She's a speaker and she's a former executive, and she helps accomplished professionals create sustainable results through replicable processes. I'm looking forward to getting into that. As an operations person myself, replicable processes are extremely important to me. And she helps you create success that doesn't require burnout or spin out. She's widely recognized for her expertise in happiness and human behavior. Brandy helps clients understand how their emotional state shapes performance, decision making, and outcomes, and then teaches them to shift it into their favor. Welcome, Brandy.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
Yes, thank you for being here. So probably about 2 years ago, I decided to share my story in the form of a book. And through doing that, I got a lot of feedback as people were reading the book. It's called The Power of the Pause. People were saying, hey, people needed to hear this story. Thank you so much for sharing. And so I started to think the stories and career journeys of others are so important. And so this podcast was born. And so I'm going to start by just asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself and then tell us where your career started before you became the Brandy that you are, right? That helps us with happiness and performance. Tell us where you started. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in your career.
Yeah, well, I started not too far from where you are now. I started in Detroit, Michigan. I was born and raised to teenage parents, and and they were amazing in that they really taught me how to like think about success as a
Mm.
way of building a life that I wanted and a life of my dreams. And so I was always like had crystal clear focus on achievement. And so when I think back to those days, started as a little girl, always getting excellent grades. My parents really pulled together all the money they could to send me to private schools. So I went to school about 25 minutes outside of the city in the suburbs, and I then was accepted to 14 colleges, and my parents were quite proud, and I didn't go too far away. I went to the University of Michigan, go blue. And then I graduated and I went into a role in healthcare sales. So I was a pharmaceutical rep and then a medical device rep very quickly. And before um, the age of 30, I was leading teams, and it was a fair amount of success. I was making more money than I ever thought I could make, and I had a big title and was able to buy anything I wanted. I really thought that I had made it. And so if you look over the course of my career before I made this transition, I led teams of upwards of 100 people and was responsible for $250 million worth of revenue independently. Um, and had been responsible for 6 different businesses, helped a couple startups really grow and expand. And it was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
And I'm grateful for that as my foundation. And and then I took the pause that you talked
Yeah.
about.
Yes. So as I hear you talking, right, you were, as I like to describe them, you were that girl, right? You were doing all of the things, being all of the things, people looking into your life and saying, man, Brandy has it all together, right? And you did, like you earned it. You worked hard for that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure over that course of growth, there were some obstacles that you came up against. So, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about what those obstacles were before we get into kind of the turning points. So as you think back
Yeah.
over that career, what were the obstacles that you came up against?
I mean, I think I maybe faced most of the obstacles that people can face. Like first of all, I was a very young leader, so I felt as though I was discounted for being young. Secondly, I was black, and so there were people who like never quite said it but always found a way to say it. Something about, one time I had a customer actually asked me if I was a princess because he had never seen any young black woman who was the actual boss. And he like
Wow.
went on for hours, and I was like, this is crazy. And my colleagues at one point started calling me a unicorn because they said every time you walk through your meetings, everybody stops you like you're a unicorn because they're trying to understand how you got here, right? And it became this like gift and the curse, right? Like I'm at a company that's worth $40 billion, and the CEO is on stage talking about my promotion, and mostly because there just wasn't anybody else. I mean, I think I was very good at the job, but the company had clearly done a very bad job at promoting diverse candidates. And so there you are, and you're like under this microscope. I remember a gentleman like um I was put on a project with him to talk about how to help future leaders grow in the organization. And he was kind of like, well, I mean, you haven't really been leading people that long. So I don't know how you can help with this. Right. And so
Oh,
he's like
wow.
very condescending. And then literally 6 months later, I was a first line manager on a project with him. We were technically peers. And then 6 months later, I got promoted. And now I'm like, over him, right? And so this is, and I'm like, oh, 6 months ago, you didn't even think I could help first line leaders be leaders. And now I'm, the boss. And so there's always these like tricky situations. And then I also think there's this push and pull of like, and I had to have a coach point this out to me. And I think it's true. Like, part of you hates being the only one, but deep down there's part of you who loves it too. You're like, "Oh, I'm the only one." Like and you start to think you're so special, right?
Right.
And so there's these external issues with kind of navigating corporate America, but then there's also the things that you're working through yourself, right? And trying to remain grounded and also not just get caught up in this. I could go on. I faced every problem, Dr. Ebony.
Listen, I hear you talk, and I understand that like unicorn-ish facade. I remember I was a frontline leader, and my boss at the time said to me, "Well, I don't even know what we were talking about, but I don't. I'll never forget his comment. He said, "This is us. This is it for us. Like this is as far as we'll go." And I was thinking to myself, "No, this might be as far as you go, but I'm not stopping here." And the further you go, the fewer of us you see, which is really strange to me considering we're the most educated demographic of the population. I have met some of the most brilliant people that I have met are Black women, but it just tells me that it's not the education, it's not the talent, it's not the ability to perform.
No,
There are other things at play that keep us out of these positions. We should not be unicorns.
no.
There's no reason for us to be
No,
unicorns.
and I
Right?
mean, just to add on to what you said, all of those things are true. And also, when we get into these roles, we historically outperform in these roles, and you see it across industries, you see it um across spaces, across tiers of whatever role you're in. And so we know that we can do really excellent work. We can do really excellent work consistently, and that as much as anybody else, and maybe more than some, we were really meant to be leaders. And that's a gift that we have, and it's one that we have to own in order to actually get the roles that we deserve.
Yeah, for sure. So when you think about all of these obstacles, right? You're young, you're Black, you're a female, all of these obstacles. What was the turning point, or was there one turning point where you said, "No, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not going to let this keep me back. I am going to become the Brandy that I know I can become."
Yeah, I mean, I will say it's twofold, right? I think part of me never really let it keep me back, right? Like part of me was like, you know, in spite of all of this, I'm a win. And
Yeah.
I've always been a winner since I was a little girl. I was an athlete. So that kind of like winning energy is just in my blood. I tried out for the Olympics. I broke the Big Ten record. I was like captain of all my teams. I was the leader like on our all school board. So I had done many, many things in my life. And that's even what led me to this work. Cause I was like, if I can win in all these ways, like, how do I take these skills, right, of someone who can just rinse and repeat? How do I take these skills and apply it to like how I actually navigate life and how the journey feels? So I don't know. I think my bigger turning point wasn't about like, will I win or will I not win? Because I'm a win one way or another. I'm a win. But it was like, how do I want my journey to feel? How do I want
Mm,
life to be? Is this all that there is? I've checked all these boxes. I've gotten all these jobs. I have this amazing husband. I live in a big fancy neighborhood. I make more money than I ever thought I had. And it doesn't feel the way that people told me this was going to feel. And that's when I took a step back and said, like, oh, I'm going to like shift how this feels because I want to live a life that feels as good as it looks. Like I don't want to be faking it till I make it, right? And so that
yeah.
was really my shift because yeah, I was never going to lose. It's not in my DNA. My parents gave me that.
Yes. I love that. I wanna live a life that feels as good as it looks. I love that. So I wanna back up for a second because you did something that I don't even know what percentage. I was gonna say it has to be less than 1% of the world does. You tried out for the Olympics. What was that like? And do you think that impacted your perception or your outlook?
Yeah, I think, right, like in all the ways, what we know is that exposure and opportunity is what helps build people's capacity for possibility, right? And I don't think I'm any different in that way. And I had a coach. I was a walk on at the University of Michigan, so I walked onto the team. And the year that I walked on, all the other sprinters, they were in like the track and field magazine. I don't even think they make the magazine anymore, but they were in the magazine. And so I was like, man, there's not really a space for me because I had been a sprinter. And then the girl who was our best long jumper, she was graduating. So I was like, you know what? I want to be on the travel team. You have to be the top 32 girls to travel. I want to be on the travel team. So I joined the team, but I kind of joined it and I never had really big dreams for myself. But my coach said, you're
Mm,
better than you think you are. And I was like, huh. And he was like, you can like do this. Like, I literally, my goal was like to be number 32. Like, and I think it was more about the community. I was like, I just
yes,
want to travel and like be with
yes,
the girls and have it's like a track team is like your own sorority, right? So I just
yes.
thought that was great. And he was like, you can be really great at this. And he just challenged me one time and told
Mm,
me I could be great. And I just started working really hard. And then I just kept moving the bar. And I remember before my junior year, he said, you are one of the best long jumpers in this country. And I was like, really? And I hadn't jumped further than 19 feet. And I came out that very first meet because you don't measure at practice. I came out the first meet and I jumped. And the announcer says, with the nation leading jump, Brandi Bentley. That's my maiden name, Brandi Bentley. And I was like, goosebumps just came all over my body. I was like, what? I'm the best in the whole nation, right? In this moment. And that's just where you start to see, like, oh. And so I do think, right, like I do a lot of board work and community work now because I believe deeply that just having someone believe in you and have show possibility, right? And I had that in my parents and my grandparents since they were so young, and then I had it in this coach, and I always try to pay that forward. But yeah, and then once you get to the Olympic trials, you like, especially you're 18 years old, I'm like, I am really good.
You're like, I'm
Tell
that
me
girl.
nothing. I'm that girl. Like, don't don't try to tell me anything
Yeah.
otherwise, you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I love that. I love that. So you try out for the Olympics and you have all of these amazing checks in the win column.
Yes.
What made you say, okay, now it's time for me to transition away from this? You said you were at a point where your life didn't feel the way you thought it should, but what made you decide that the transition that you made was the right transition? And what did that look like?
Yeah. Well, I was very fortunate, right? Like I said, I had worked to like partner with a company that had increased on the stock market 5 times in 18 months. So I had been very successful. And, my husband has his own business that does very well. So I was in a position where I could pause, just like really pause. I didn't have to transition. But the irony is, I didn't really know it. Like, even though on paper, like, you're like, okay, we're good. My husband literally one day had to say to me, because I was complaining, he's like, you don't have to do this. And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, you don't have to do this. And it was just like such a beautiful like testament to his like love and support of me, and also just like such an aha moment, right? And so in that moment, I actually just decided that I wanted to really distill, because I am like a framework kind of like first X then Y build a plan kind of person. I wanted to really distill what it takes to build a life that you love. And so I stopped working, and in those moments I just really start um to really put onto paper what it takes to have it all. And I really concluded, and now I know for sure that we can have it all. Like, all of our dreams are really meant for us. Like, we don't have these dreams because we're aspiring to something that's beyond our capacity. We have these dreams to show us what our capacity actually is, and then to do the removing of the things that are blocking us from aligning to it.
Yes, yes. So you had an opportunity to pause, and I really believe in life. And it may look different, right? The pause may look different. Someone may not be able to walk away. Maybe they don't have a partner that can sustain them financially. But I believe wholeheartedly you can walk away for a weekend or maybe take a trip to just think, right? Because sometimes we're moving so fast and doing so many things that, like you said, Brandy, somebody has to say, like, you don't have to do this. It, and while it seems like you would know, you probably did. You never even stopped to think about it,
Never.
right? You never even stopped to think about it. And so you said you love frameworks, right? And so I kind of smirked when you said that because I do as well, right? And I function in this kind of this space where I like repeatable processes and things of that nature. So you made this transition, and I know there is a framework that you have that you work out of. So tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing now and what that looks like.
Yes. So the work that I do, I'm a performance coach. I'm an expert on how our emotions shape our lives, and ultimately, I help people do what I did. I help people build a life that feels as good as it looks. And so I work with highly accomplished professionals who want to achieve an even more audacious, a much more bigger goal than they have. And we're going to shorten the timeline to achieve that goal, but we're also going to make it feel less stressful. And I have created a framework called BASE, because I think it's foundational to building a life that you love. And it's beliefs, alignment, self awareness, and emotional resilience. And if you take like every goal you have and every problem that shows up in your life, and you put it through the lens of this framework, which I can walk you through if you'd like, then and you're disciplined about it, because there's no one hit wonders here. But if you're disciplined about it, then you can create this inevitable success, because it's a repeatable process. And these aren't original ideas. These are like the soft skills that most accomplished professionals really don't spend time on, because we're so busy trying to run through walls. And these are like the universal laws of the universe that God has given us. And I've just distilled it into these 4 things to help make it really accessible to everyone. And I really believe deeply, I want it to be accessible to people who look like us. That's very important to me.
Yes, I love that. We're busy running through walls, literally.
Literally.
Like, as you were talking, I said, Brandy, we got to talk off camera because I can just see the frameworks working together, right? How do you take a pause and then build
Yeah.
the life you want? So, yeah, we'll have to talk off camera. But tell
Yeah.
me, as folks work with you, what can they expect?
Yeah. I mean, so I'll walk you through the framework because, like I said, we're going to take every goal you have, we're going to take every problem that's showing up in your life, and we're going to like look through this lens. And so the
Mhm.
B is like, what are the beliefs that you have, right? So there are always bad actors in the world. And if I think about that guy who thought I wasn't, good enough, or the doctor who thought I was, a princess, or the CEO who wanted to use me as his bulletin board, what is it called? A board, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say, but
Yeah,
like poster board,
it's poster
right?
board. Yeah,
Thank you. You know, all of those things, right? I had these beliefs about how hard it was going to be for me. And so I
Mhm.
am constantly looking through this lens of like, yep, they're not going to like me because I'm so young. Yep, that old guy from Georgia, he's not going to really want to work with me because he's going to wonder like how I have the same job as him. And so when we have these beliefs, when we're looking through this lens, even though I'm not absolving the bad actors, we're more likely to pull those things into our experience, right? They're more likely to show up for us, right?
Yeah,
And so I say now that I still live in a society that is racist and sexist and all the things, but I no longer allow those things to shift my life, right?
yeah.
Because I have different beliefs about how I'm going to interact with the world, right? So we want to very early on know what we believe deeply, do our very best to shift those beliefs. And then as we shift those beliefs, we're less likely to draw those things to us because our brain is so incredibly powerful, and our brain's only job is to prove us right. So every day our brain is trying to prove us right. And so I tell people like the life you have is what you believe you deserve, because your brain is trying to prove you right. And you can tell me you believe you deserve differently, but I'm going to tell you that it can't be true because your life is just a mirror of what you think you're worthy of having, right? So the
Yes.
very like foundational work is just to be like, hey, what do I believe, right? Do I believe money's growing trees? Do I believe there's not enough black men in the world for me to get married who are educated enough, who are smart enough? Do I believe that like being a mom is like really hard and it's never gonna like work out for me? Do I believe that like no one has my back? Do I believe that my friends aren't gonna be there for me? Like all of these things, even if they're true, and they probably are because you believe them, they're not helpful.
No, because what you believe, you will speak,
You
and what
will.
you speak will become true, right?
It has to.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone knows that I am a Christian, right? And so I believe 100% that there is power in the tongue, right? The power of life and death is in your tongue, and if you believe it, you're going to say it, and if
Yep.
you say it, it will come to pass.
It will make manifest because saying it, writing it, knowing it, like putting it out into the world is the first step of creation, right?
Yeah,
And God has made us all creators of our own reality. That's where that free will comes in, right? And so
yeah,
the belief is the first thing you want to shift and adjust, right? And then the A is alignment, right? So if you want to be a millionaire, a billionaire, if you want to be married, if you want to be whatever it is, you fundamentally believe that that thing that you're seeking to get is going to make you happy, right? But most of the people are like, oh, I really want a man, or I really want a job that pays me more. And then they go through the laundry list of reasons they don't have it. And so, energetically, like you're down here because you're like, worry it's not going to happen. You're fearful it's not going to happen. You're going through all these dense emotions about why you can't reach your goal, and what you're trying to feel is up here, right? So the
yeah,
way that we close that gap is by having faith, if you believe, having a
yeah,
knowing, having
yeah,
belief, knowing it's your truth, whatever you want to call it, you have to have that in advance.
Yes.
Believe as though it has already happened. And when you are in that space of alignment, of knowing that, like, I am not a billionaire today, I may not be a millionaire today, I may not even make $100,000 today, but I am a person who does. And I
Yes.
act from that space, then inevitably it will come to pass. And your work is just to shrink the timeline. It's not to think about, will this happen or not? And so that's all we're doing, right? We're getting in alignment in advance. We're having this deep faith and trust that our success is inevitable. And then there it is, right?
Yes.
And then the
Yes.
S is self awareness. Like, you got to know when you're out of alignment and when you have limiting beliefs. You have to
Yes.
be able, like, you can't hire Dr. Ebony and Brandy every day to tell you that you're off track. We can't be there with you and we
Right.
can't be in your head, right? So you are with us and we hold space for you and we hold up a mirror for you to see. And then you have to start to catch it on your own. And then as
Listen.
you start to see for yourself, like, oh, I'm off track, then you can make these moderate adjustments to get on
Yes.
track and stay on track more often than not. Again, making your success inevitable. And
Yes.
then the E is the hardest, I will admit. Like, we all have stressful things that have happened in our lifetime. And some of us have had traumatic things that have happened in our lifetime. And we may need therapy, or we may need to cry deeply, or something in between, or all of the above. And but we have to, we owe it to ourselves to do the work to disentangle ourselves from those stressful traumatic events. We want to be in a place where we hold the wisdom of those events, and we have to believe that there was wisdom in the event. Everything that happened to us happened for us, no matter how hard it seems. And we hold the wisdom of it, and we release the dense emotion. And that may involve forgiving the other person, forgiving ourselves. That may involve a lot of work. But when we hold on to that wisdom and we are no longer tethered to the event by this dense emotion, then we start to live in this present moment, right? And it works both
Yeah.
ways. Like, when really great things happen to us, we have these beautiful emotions
Yeah.
about it. And then those things start to happen over and over again. People
Yeah.
look badly upon some people who make lots of money, but the reason people make more and more and more is because they no longer have any sort of boundary around making money. Their minds are so expanded, their capacity is so
Yeah.
expanded, right? And so we repeat the good things, which is in our favor, right? Because 95% of our life is on autopilot. That's amazing. It helps us not have
Yes.
to use energy to build all the time. But you have to realize you're also repeating these dense things, and those are the things you want to work on. And when you do those 4 steps, any problem, any condition, any goal, I promise, with consistency and discipline, that you'll achieve it.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that. As you were talking about the E,
Yes.
right? I see that as the work that we hear people talk about all the time. Like, people say, I did the work. I did the work. That is the work. All 4 letters are the work, but the E, that work that you have to do emotionally is important. Like, having a good cry. You mentioned that, Brandy. I can tell you, there was a point in my life where I was processing through some things, just as you talked about, and there were days where, not just a day, there were days where I just had to release that emotion. I remember one day, I remember in 2020, after the murder of George Floyd, and I am so thankful to have been in a position with a leader at that point who understood that I needed time and space, and gave that to me. I don't know that many people were given that. Lots of people had to just continue to go to work, right? But I was at a point where I needed some time and space, and I was given that to work through that. And then several years later, there were some other things that came up in me, and I just needed good cries.
Mhm.
Sometimes you need good cries, and you need a great therapist in your life. So thank you
Yeah.
for bringing that up. You
Yeah.
need coaches like Brandy and I, but you also need a good therapist in your life. Coaching and therapy are different. You need
They're
a
very
good
different. And I
therapist in
think
your life.
Were you
Go
sorry?
ahead.
Okay. I think that sometimes people do the work and the work is so heavy and it can be so daunting depending on what you've navigated in your life. And so people are like, well, I did the work. And so where's the reward? Right. And so I I tell people like E is at the end because base is like a very sweet little word and framework, but E is like it's honestly just the first part.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you actually like once you have like resolved most of your trauma and stress and drama in your life, then that's when we like do the lift, right? That's when you come to the coach to help you kind of think about the future because that's really resolving your past and like shifting your beliefs and being in alignment is actually how you build the future. And you have to do all three to get what you're looking for.
Absolutely. And it's so funny once you do that work, sometimes things that were covered for you or you couldn't see them or you didn't believe you could do become very easy for you because you
So
have blocked the things yourself. So I love that. So I've got two more questions for three. I was three more questions for you.
okay.
The first question is let's say there somebody says, "What one thing should I take away from this conversation that Brandy and Ebony have had? What one thing do you think is most important for our listeners who are all career women? Well, there could be other people listening, but mostly career women. What one thing do you want them to take away?"
Oh man, distilling it to one. I think what I would say, because I've said a lot of my pearls already, but what I would really say is choose you every single day, right? And when we
Mm,
choose ourselves over and over and over again, we will always end up getting it right, right? And I remind people that when I choose me, when I do what's best for me, it is actually best for the whole world. And so it's a
mm.
really beautiful way to center on doing your work and knowing the ripple effect is goodness for everyone. Black women take on this like need to shift and help everyone else and we don't always put on our own oxygen mask.
Yes, yes. That is so powerful. God designed each of us uniquely. And so when you push into who you are designed to be, it's better for the whole world. It's
It's
like you
better
said.
for everyone.
So I am listening and I need a performance coach. I want to engage with Brandy. Where do our listeners engage with you? Where do they find you? What do you have going on right now?
I love that. You can find me at Brandy B. Hudson on my website, my Instagram, LinkedIn. It's all Brandy with an I, B, and then Hudson. And you can email me at Brandy at hibrandy.com. Yeah. And I have a Substack that comes out every Tuesday and a question and answer podcast. So I'm not interviewing people, but if you have any questions about your life and you want to just start there, you can submit the questions at my email and I answer them every other Thursday. It's a lot
And
of
we
fun.
will, yes, yes, we'll make sure we put all of the links in the description and the recap of the podcast so that folks can have it. And then I have my final question, which I love to hear, and it's amazing the answers I get. So here we go, Brandy. Someone wants to make a movie of your life.
All right.
What is the title of that movie, and who will play you?
Okay. The title is going to be Unstoppable, and Kerry Washington is going to play me.
Yes, Unstoppable. Kerry Washington, you hear that? We want you to play Brandy Hudson when the Unstoppable movie comes out. So, Brandy, listen, I have learned so much just chatting with you. Definitely want to continue the conversation and just see what work we might be able to do together. But thank you so much for dropping the gems that you dropped today on our audience. You guys, listen. Make sure you tune in to Brandy's podcast. If you have questions, submit them so she can answer them for you and engage with Brandy and her community. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button and you're watching on YouTube, make sure you do. Otherwise, make sure you download these episodes where you might be listening. And until next time, keep spreading that black girl magic on everything you do. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye, guys.